Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all good. In today's video, we're going to be having some more fun with Valentine's stroke Halloween, and we're going to be doing a chuck it all in using my stash. This is utterly inspired by my friend Toni at Crafty by Toni. She does a lot of using my stash videos where she goes through everything she's already created in smaller pieces and then brings it all together to make a larger piece. And this is what I'm talking about. This is my version of that. And that was to use some dried out roses from our own garden, from our rose bush. We had it torn down, sadly. It was affecting the garage. But anyway, listen, they were okay. I saved the roses, dried it all out. And I'm also using anything else I can grab that will work with the scheme. So again, we're going Valentine's stroke, Halloween stroke, those kind of themes. I'm grabbing wings, I'm grabbing birds, skulls. I was looking for some crosses, but I really couldn't find them. I also have this massive bowl of my stash. These things come around when I've got leftover resin, right? And then I just grab any mold and I pour them in. And of course, that stuff builds up, builds up, builds up. So I really just went through everything that I had that I thought would work in this. And we're going to do a chuck it all in bowl using all the bits and bobs, basically. The first thing I did before I put any of this into resin was just give them all a bit of a highlight with silver embossing wax. Now, a lot of them are jet black and I really want them to have some kind of depth and visual interest. So I'm giving everything a bit of a rub with the Finnabair embellishment wax. Some of them are already done, but a few of the pieces just needed a little something something before I put them in the bowl. Now, these are the roses I was telling you about. Some of them are still in their complete rosebud form, so I just had to crush those up. And then anything else, I was just kind of crushing between my fingers. And it's a really beautiful, dark, gothic kind of rose, you know? The apex I'm going to be using, no, the resin I'm going to be using in today's video is the apex. And again, I'm at the bottom of these bottles, so I'm leaving them upside down for quite a while. I have mixed up approximately 400 grams of resin for today's video, and the mold I'm using is a mold from SHEIN, or you guys could find it on Temu, AliExpress, SHEIN, or Amazon if you type in extra large bowl mold. There's loads. So again, this is Valentine's meets Halloween meets Gothic meets all of that yumminess. So just a combination of heart sequins. We've got some purple resin dye, purple mica powder. This is a Resin Pro brand. Beautiful. I've also got the silver stones that were recently sent to me from Petra Youngblood. I've got some of her beautiful products, and these silver stones I thought would work really, really well as a combination. So again, chuck it all in. No real rhyme or reason as to where you put anything, but we'll definitely talk more about that as the video goes through. Now, like I said, I've mixed up 400 grams of resin. Wasn't quite sure if this would really be enough, but we're just gonna go with it. And the resin then I'm just pouring into the rose petals and into those silver stones. The rest is just going to be kind of dumped in as we go. So adding the resin into the rose petals, I just really needed to give it a really good bash with the lollipop stick, because again, some of these petals were huge and some of them were still in the rosebud formation. So you just want to crush them as much as possible. A pestle and mortar would be really handy at this point, but just know if you're doing anything like this, it's messy. It's going to get messy, but that's all part of the fun for me, because I love nothing more than a chuck it all in creation. The one thing you must do, make sure all of your items are around the right way. So think about the bowl is currently upside down, and all of these pieces that I'm putting in are one-sided. Like the skulls, the wings, the buds and things like that. Not the buds, the birds. The birds. They're one-sided. And I want to make sure that, like right now, I'm putting that skull in completely wrong. I've put the flat, shiny side on the outside. So I've said this in previous videos, I don't know why I find it so hard. Like, my brain is like, okay, I've got to make sure it's around this way and it's upside down and it's facing forward and all of these things. And sometimes I just can't get it immediately, but I do make sure that I go round utterly thoroughly, and I check that everything I've put in there, look, straight away, the skull, I put it in round the wrong way. So making sure that whatever I put in is around the right way and the right way up, because again, this is an upside down, inside out kind of project. I hope I'm making sense. So because it's so messy, I decided to dump a load of keys on the top and just scrape them down into the sides, putting the wings down the side. And what I'm doing here is just, yeah, this is me going, oh, that's around the wrong way. It got so messy, but honestly, I love it, guys. I really love this kind of creation. Yeah, a Lazy Susan would have been really handy. If I had some kind of large Lazy Susan that would allow me to turn the bowl as I'm working around the bowl. Here's the thing, I want to make sure that the bowl itself has got an equal amount of inclusions running all the way around the outside of the bowl, because sometimes I end up just putting so much in one space, thinking I'm turning the bowl, but I'm really not doing a very good job at turning the bowl. So it's just making sure that you distribute, there's the word, distribute your inclusions equally around the bowl, so that when you demold and you look at the bowl, you've got a really lovely balance of all of these inclusions running all the way around the bowl. But honestly, yeah, a Lazy Susan would have been so helpful, because the more I put in, the heavier the bowl became and the harder it was to turn, and it's just hard. I also wish I could film this for you from the angle table height. Am I making sense? Like, obviously you're seeing from above. I'd love for you to see from the side so that you can see the things being pushed down in and what they're looking like down there. But logistically, the light wasn't right, so I just couldn't do it. But again, like I said, just keep on turning that bowl. Keep on thinking, right, there's a gap there. I need to put something in that gap, and turn the bowl again and say, right, there's another gap. I need to put something in that gap. The other thing to bear in mind, and I'll talk about it later in the video, is that I'm using metal keys. I'm using the metal stones from Petra Youngblood. They're heavy. They're a lot heavier than these heart sequins. Now, these are stunning heart sequins. I got them from Amazon. A lot heavier. So I already know that the potential for them to just sink is strong. So yeah, it's just bearing in mind what you're putting in, when you're putting it in, and how that is then going to be pushed down, or will it float? If it's going to float, put it in afterwards. It's a whole thing. But I'm making it sound way more complicated than it is. At the end of the day, you do what you want. You do exactly what you want to do. Whatever makes your heart happy, you do it. There's no real rules here apart from chucking it all in, shoving it down those sides, and hoping for the best, hoping that you'll still get some kind of quirky result from the end. In go the rose petals. Now again, these rose petals are still quite bulky at this point. I haven't ground them down to a dust. They are still chunky, hunky rose petals in a beautiful deep kind of gothic red. Shoving them down. That's the only way. So many of you have said we need a jumper with chuck it all in on it, but honestly, like, shove it in as well. Like, shove it down, shove it in, and get it in there. At this point, I wasn't paying any mind to the items that I'd placed down beforehand. I'm just getting the rose petals in now. It's the turn of the rose petals. So just using my lollipop stick, scraping it off of that flat base and shoving it down the sides, and again hoping for the best. What I didn't want was to add colour At this point, I've done this kind of thing before, by the way, guys. I have got videos on this with other schemes. I didn't want to add colour and have that colour go down the sides and drown out all of the inclusions that I've put in there. I still want to see them. I'm looking for a lot of clear space where we can absolutely see the skulls, see the birds, see the keys, see the stones. I want to see everything. So the reason I'm not adding any colour at this point is because it's risky, right? It's a risky business. I've said it before and I'll say it again, like resin does what resin wants. You think you're doing something right and then the resin's like, actually, today I'm just going to sink and cover everything. You're not going to see a single thing that you've put in this bowl. So there is a fine line. There is a risk that that's going to happen. So on the top then, I'm just adding in some purple resin pigment. It's a transparent pigment. It's not alcohol ink. If that was alcohol ink, kind of wish I used it now. It would have spread so much. It would have just bloomed out and spread so much easier than resin dye. Resin dye ideally really should be mixed into the resin, but it's doing it this way is not going to massively impact anything. It's not going to have a significant negative impact. And then I'm just finishing this section off with some dark grey mica powder. Now at this point the mould is pretty full up, so I feel confident that the grey isn't going to overtake everything, sink down the sides and bury everything I've put in this bowl. But again, you kind of just never know. You never know. It's either going to be your friend or it's going to absolutely betray you and cover everything up. But I'm kind of happy because obviously I'm looking at it from the side as well, right? And I can still see these huge blank spaces and I'm happy I can see the hearts. I can see some of the skulls in there. I can already see the keys have sunk. All of the keys have sunk to the bottom, which is not ideal. Like I would love to see some keys up and around the sides of the bowl. Finishing it off, filling up this mould with some of that Resin Pro purple. And it was just fingers crossed, walking away, hoping for the best. Now the heart sequins I put on the top there for absolutely no reason other than to make the bottom look pretty. That was genuinely it. I knew they'd float. I knew we'd never see them again because they're on the bottom. But hey, the bottom looks pretty. It looks kind of pretty. So it was demold time and I was already so happy because I could see loads of clear resin, which meant that everything we've put down so far has not been covered up. It hasn't been buried. Demolding was a bit tricky. This was definitely trickier than I wanted it to be, but we got there in the end. I made such a mess with the resin that it seeped out and over the side of the bowl, which made the mould itself quite rigid, but it's all good. First impressions, I'm not sure. My first initial genuine impression was this is not as good as the bowl I made last year. The second impression was I don't know. The third impression was still kind of cool, kind of quirky. We fit the brief. We've got this kind of gothic Halloweeny Valentine's-y vibe. But guys, this section here, this section was a wow. 2 birds and a skull. Absolute perfection. My fourth thought was, I wish it looked like that all the way around. And hello to the double chin action. You can see my reflection at the bottom of the bowl. You're welcome. Sorry guys, the door went. But I loved certain elements of this bowl. Like this section here, hands down my favourite. That skull, the 2 birds, the rose petals and the keys. And it is a wow from me. Even the grey. See the neck? There's a neck. I'm sorry, what? There is a neck on the skull created by grey mica. Now you could not recreate that in a million years. It's just how it happened. I love the colours though. I love the combination of the dark moody greys and the deep dark red of the petals, and then this pop of bright red from the heart sequins. I hate the fact that that skull ended up laying down. Like I really would have loved that skull to have stayed upright, stayed visible in its upright position. I love this mishmash area here. Like, I'm not even sure what happened there, but I believe that's one of the wings I put in. But this section, oh my gosh, my favorite. I mean, this combination, it's just so neat. They're equally spaced. They stayed in place. They stayed exactly where I put them. You could not get this more perfect. And then you turn the bowl around and it's all much of a nothing. Honestly, much of a nothing. The rim of the bowl looks pretty cool. I mean, yes, of course, all the keys sank. All the metal stones sank. They're the heaviest components here. But that gives us a pretty cool rim. There's just a lot that I would take away from this. And I've seen you guys, I watch your comments, I read your comments, and I have seen comments saying, Claire, don't be so hard on yourself. Genuinely, guys, I'm not. I love to look at what I would do differently if I were you. If you're going to roll with this and take this technique, I want you to know what I wish I did, you know? And that is potentially let the resin cure up. Let the resin cure up for a good 40 minutes. Before placing items down. Because when you fill the mould with beautiful, fresh, runny resin, it's so watery that whatever you place in there, it's just gonna flop, right? I mean flop as in it's still gonna look amazing, but it's gonna just go to the side or lean to one side, or it's not gonna be upright, it's not gonna sit upright, it's not gonna sit where you placed it. Whereas if you allow the resin to thicken up somewhat, like, oh, I mean, I've got no reason why these three here came out perfect, honestly. I can't stop looking at that section of the bowl. There's just a few things you can do to stop everything sinking. And one of those things is let your resin sit for a while. Now, equally, what you could do is put all of your big things in first, right? So your skulls, your birds, your big chunky sections, just like this bit. And your roses, followed by your roses or your foils, and then put your keys in. Now, at that stage, your keys are going to be trapped, right, behind bigger objects, and therefore they can't sink to the bottom, right? And I've done that before in previous bowls you would have seen. So yeah, whilst I love all of the elements that have gone into this bowl, I only love 1/4 of it visually, whereas the rest of it is all much of a nothing. And I didn't equally space the items. I didn't equally put the large things in equal spaces. So much to learn from this. I feel like I do want to do this again. But I'm going to see if I can do like bird, skull, bird, skull, bird, skull, and keep everything in there big, right? I think that's going to have a lot more of a wow impact. I am really, really happy. If you're still here, I'm so sorry, I'm rambling, but I'm really happy that the colours didn't take over. The grey didn't actually, it wasn't heavier than the rest, and it didn't come down and into the resin and dominate and kind of cover up half of the things that I'd put in there. So I'm really happy that didn't happen. What I do love about this bowl particularly are the rose petals. I absolutely love the way they've turned out. So yeah, loads that I love about it, and 1/4 of the front that I love visually. The rest is just, yeah, things to try again in the future and what I've learned from it. But again, I'm not being hard on myself, I promise. I absolutely love it. I'm proud of it. I just know that there are things I'd change about it. But yeah, I hope you feel inspired in some way. I would definitely say that a chuck it all in a bowl is definitely more risky, way more messy, but still so much fun. I hope you feel inspired, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.